joking. John Finch, great to see him jumping up to P2, and looking how close that is. Only a couple of tenths now between him and Boland in 4th, and you've got Cross and King all within half a second as well. Boland, I think, will be keen, Chris, to jump up to the front row. I mean, especially when you consider that, Boland's missed 3 rounds this season. So in terms of drop scores, you're going to expect Chris to actually, rise up the championship order a little bit after tonight, because he's not dropping any more scores. From this point onwards, everything Chris does is counting towards his points total. Some of the drivers around him in the championship, they are still going to have to drop a score. So they've been more consistent and turned up more, but they're not necessarily as quick as Boland. So this is really a chance for Chris to get a few spots in the championship. Not that that's what this season is all about, of course, for our reigning champion, who has had a bit of fun in the BMW and will just be looking for more of the same tonight.
How much gravel has been deposited at Druids? Good God, you're almost skiing at that point. But no, you're absolutely right. Chris Boland hasn't really had the rub of the green. He's given it everything he had in the BMW, just hasn't really gone his way for his championship defence. But either way, the racing we've seen, and the drivers have all commented that it's been a fantastic championship to be part of. So very much enjoyed his participation and all the racing that we've had throughout the season. Matt Fries, who was in 2nd, bearing in mind, earlier in the qualifying, now finds himself in 6th position with the purple. Well, those two have just compromised their own laps, so the Porsche has just let Matt Forrest back through again. So that's not gone particularly well. Tom Bunton has improved. We saw Tom join us last time out, our Grid Finder representative in the Treble 8 Porsche. There he is in his Golf livery. Again, a veteran from the Royal Navy. So, it was good to have a chat with Tom last time out. Really did get himself very much in the midfield, really got stuck in. Wasn't kind of last and lapped as you might. He said himself that he hasn't had an awful lot of time to do much racing, but kind of hit the ground running against some, even in the midfield. There was a lot of very, very talented racers in this championship. Chris Boland has improved as well. We've just seen at the tower up to 2nd with a 30.036, just 2 and a bit tenths off the back of Paulie's sub 130 time. So one thing I want to ask you, John, obviously you've got a fair amount of real life racing experience. What cars have you chucked around here in the past?
Well, it's interesting because the actual Brands Hatch GP layout, I've unfortunately never had the privilege of driving in real life. As we see almost a spin in the background for one of the cars. Couldn't quite tell who that was. But yeah, no, the GP layout, and to me that's the best part of Brands Hatch. The second half of the lap is not something I've been able to experience in real life. And interestingly, it's because the GP layout is just less used in real motorsport. There aren't as many weekends where the GP circuit is used because the Indy layout is much easier to maintain, less marshals, etc., etc. And Brands Hatch tends to focus more with the Indy layout unless you're doing the stronger national series, and then they have support races, etc. So it's a bit of a privilege actually to be able to race around this GP layout in real life. But in terms of the Indy layout, I've raced a number of times around in Mazda MX-5s. I've driven Volkswagen Cup cars around here as well. So a few different things, but nothing too crazy around Brands Hatch, I have to be honest. And it's a fun track. It's a really fun track. But every time I go through the chicane, I just get very jealous that I'm not turning left and heading down towards Pilgrim's Drop. Oh, Boland to the top, 129.762, ahead of Chris Bawley.
Yes, I was about to point that out. We have a new pole sitter at the moment with less than 5 minutes to run. So Chris Boland has continued to improve the track. Whatever damp patches were there at the beginning of the session have dried out. Track conditions still coming to our drivers, although there may well still be a little bit of damp still out there. But Chris Boland, number 1 car in the number 1 position at the moment by only 3.5 thousandths of a second over the 88 Mercedes of Chris Pauly. So he's going to give it everything he has right until that final checkered flag, as Chris Boland now, he's behind. Well, it's got to be Jack Ajewski. The other Merc that had a similar white livery was Ryan Martin, who's not with us. He's backed out of that. And there is Jack Ajewski in the trees. There he is. Tom Bunton continuing to improve. He's gone up to 31.2 now, so puts him in 9th position in his Porsche. So Jack Ajewski has struggled a bit with this particular track tonight. So we've seen a few spins from him, more in the inclement weather, admittedly. Does he improve from where he currently sits at 32.150 Sits him in 13th position. Is this an improvement for Jack? Answer is, it is. Sees him up to 10th with a 31.528.
Good stuff. It's been a strange year for Jack Ajewski. I think he's shown lots of potential, good pace. I think his speed is better than his championship position or race results may reflect, but unfortunately it's just been too many mistakes from Jack. Lots of spins. The amount of times we've said in the broadcast, what it could have been for Ajewski, and it's ended up facing the wrong direction. So I'm sure he'll have learned a lot from this season. Clearly a talented driver, lots of potential, good pace. Just needs to work a little bit on reducing those mistakes, but that's what these kind of series are for. All in good faith, all in good fun, and we'll be hoping that Jack can have a good run tonight. The unfortunate James King still in the pits in P7. Now, we believe we may have had some technical issues at the start of this broadcast, so if you're joining us midway through qualifying, hello, welcome, and you may be able to catch up on the stuff you missed later on, but yeah, James has been, I think, working away to try and make sure that's resolved, and he's been in the pit, so he's dropped from the top 3 positions in qualifying now down to 7th place, but it's still only a second off the pace in that McLaren. Still top McLaren, as he has been for most of the season, and he's really not far away around here, so let's see if he can get back out before the end of the session and get a few more laps in. We are talking, though, about only 2 minutes to go, so you really do need to be making your way out of the pits right now, as John Finch in P3 is doing, if you want to be able to get another lap in.
Indeed, as we continue to watch Chris Pauly, he's just come through Sheen's now, down towards Sterling's, sliding the Mercedes, using almost all of the available space to him, whilst keeping his car off the green and fuzzy stuff. Now into Clark. Like we said, 1:29.799, his previous time. Is this an improvement? He hugs that inside line, shortens the distance to the flag. Is this an improvement? Yes, it is. It's a 29.665. Sees him back on that pole spot. But again, less than a 10th separates our top 2.
This is what we want to see, isn't it? We've got a proper race in our hands. Forget what that joke I made about Pauly start from the back of the grid, because Boland's here to play. And I think between these two, the pace is so similar. We could see a great race. Matty Forrest now jumps up to 3rd place in the Aston Martin, our veteran. Less than 4 tenths off the pace. So that's great stuff from Matthew. Ahead of John Finch now, we've got an all Aston row 2 with Stevens, Cross, King and Crop rounding out our top 8. Looks like now anyone in the pits is not going to get another lap in, so Finch, King, Bunton and Ajewski are done for the day. Bury down in 12th place, 2 seconds off. A respectable effort from Glynn so far, and he's still out on track, so maybe some more laps there. You've got Weston, Gladwell and Wardle rounding off our 15 entries at the moment, with just 30 seconds to go in this qualifying session.
We usually have had a few late joiners in the qualifying session. It doesn't seem to be the case this week, as Chris Boland slides his way through Sheen's and is then faced with a Sterling full of gravel.
It is the rally layout of Brands Hatch today. It's like the circuit rallying has come to town. Proper season finale stuff, but that's of course iRacing's recent update of bringing marbles and debris onto the circuit, which I actually love to see, Chris.
Yeah, you and I both. So it's going to be close now. Checker flag is out. Let's see. It was an improvement in time, but not position for Chris Boland. He managed to shave a few thousandths off his time, but it was not able to improve. So he stays alongside Chris Pauly. Darren Cross in 6th position in the 263 red and black Mercedes. What can he do? Into Clark Curve. Currently 6th with 1:36.02 to his name. Is this an improvement? Just shy of a second off the top spot. We have a very enthusiastic flag marshal. Is this an improvement? It is not. So Dan remains where he is. Jack Trunwick does not improve either. So the last lap being ticked off is Tom Stevens. Oh no, beg your pardon. There was an improvement in time but not position for Dan Cross. Glyn Bury remains in 12th position in the 87 Mercedes. Tom Stevens is out there. That is, where are you? That's Sheen's. He's just gone through. Sterling's now. It's the last car on circuit. So can Tom Stevens, yeah, we'll call him that now. Can Tom Stevens find any more time? Well, Brad Kropp just crossed the line, made an improvement up to 7th with a 37.14. What can Tom improve? If it's a slower lap, it's practice nonetheless. 33.21, his best time. It is not an improvement for Tom Stevens. So then it is, your first name has to be Chris to start on the front row. Chris Pauly starts ahead of Chris Boland for row 1. Matt Forrest and John Finch, a pair of Astons, have row 2. Tom Stevens, our lead Porsche, alongside Darren Cross on row 3. Brad Kropp and James King in our lead McLaren on row 4. Tom Bunton and Jack Trunwitt have row 5. Jack Kajewski and Glyn Bury on row 6. Ben Weston and Mark Gladwell on row 7, with Steve Wardle at the tail of the field in the second of our McLarens. Oh, we've been building up to this moment, John, and again, we are seeing some very, very close times, very competitive driving. No one has kind of let off the gas, really, have they?
Certainly not. And I think we've got, a fantastic battle for especially I would say our third place in the podium today. I think it's going to be Pauly versus Bullen for the win, but we have seen, of course, in the past, things can go wrong for the leaders. Drivers can show more pace in the race. I just think maybe that the Chris's have too much over the rest of the field. Great night to be called Chris, isn't it? Definitely Chris is showing their talent here tonight. I do think we're going to have a two-way scrap for the win, and I think we're going to have a, let's say, 12-way scrap for P3. Forrest, Finch, Stevens, Cross and Crop all very close in time, and I think that's going to be exciting to see. Obviously, Brands Hatch always produces great racing, and this championship, more importantly, always produces great racing. So as a combination, it's deadly.
Yes, very, very much so. It's wonderful for us. We get to enjoy some amazing racing, and we're going to see the season out on a wonderful, wonderful finale here at Kent's finest. So Chris Morley already the champion-elect. He cannot be dethroned from that spot. But who is going to win out from the rest of the positions? Stick with us to find out. Right, the warm-up lap is underway, so we'll head trackside very, very shortly to see how this race is going to turn out. It does look like the weather is holding off, so the driver's probably quite happy about that. One of my few sim racing successes was actually at Brands GP in the wet in a BMW some years ago. It was not in iRacing. Good old Project Cars 2. That was a real favourite of mine back in the day. So yes, I have a real soft spot for Brands Hatch, particularly GP. But I have done presenting here before. When you watch the British Truck Racing Championship, it is like tons of racing machinery. It is wonderful to see and quite terrifying as well.
Yeah, certainly. And I think that, there's not much margin for error here at Brands Hatch. If you get things wrong, if you go in the grass, there are a few big gravel traps out there, but more often than not, you're going to end up in a wall of some description, whether it's the tyre wall on the outside of the hairpin. They're normally, to be honest, on the Armco on the inside. We've seen plenty of cars in this tyre wall that we're looking at right now. In fact, I've seen Porsche Carrera Cups up on top of the Marshall's hut and all sorts on the run-up towards the hairpin. The exit of Druids here, I'm not going to do the full lap of crashes here, but on the exit of Druids, it's very easy to lose the rear and end up on the wall that you now see on your left. And then same here, down through Graham Hill Bend, it's very easy once again to touch the grass on the outside, lose the rear, and we've seen cars ending up in the Armco on the left-hand side. So plenty of places, in especially rear-wheel drive machinery, where you can have some fairly sizable shunts around here. And when you do lose the car and end up on the opposite side of the circuit, more often than not, Chris, there is a barrier waiting to grab you in. So these drivers will have to be wary, but it's the last round of the season, so at the same time, forget about that. Just go out and have some fun.
Absolutely. The inside barrier at Graham Hill Bend you mentioned, I've chucked a car into there once or twice. Again, in sim racing terms, I've not raced in real life. I'm not sure I'm quite brave enough now.
Called Chris, you can do anything.
Yeah, well, today, honestly so. Quickly sign me up, get me at the back of the grid, I'll have a go. I'd love to, but I'd be last and lapped within about 3 laps. The times these guys set in the wet, I can only hope to set in the dry. I am by no means a quick driver whatsoever. But that said, this being an older track, it is a full lap behind the safety car. The newer ones, as I knew from a certain point in time, I can't remember exactly what that time is, but only have a part lap behind the safety car in A racing. But Brands Hatch being of the older generation, it is a full lap behind the safety car. We get to enjoy the scenery just one more time, and then it is all business when we get going again. The field working their way down towards Clark Curve. Exit stage left for the Porsche. There he goes. So now it is all eyes on the lights. And oh, not even waiting for that. Look at that. Straight on the gas. Chris Pauly signifies we are racing here at Brands Hatch. So let the field now sort themselves out. Looks like everybody's kind of finding their own bit of real estate already. Single file, not even trying side by side. Although Bury gets ahead of Ajewski coming through Paddock Hill Bend for the first time in anger into Druids. First heavy braking zone of the lap. And Bury again is gaining a few positions. Tom Bunting gets the inside line of James King in the McLaren, but it's now going to be side by side coming down through Graham Hill Bend. It is wide enough to do, but the Porsche is going to have the momentum. And right behind them is Glyn Bury, who's having a bit of a storming race today. Oh my God, look at that! That was Jack Trunwick that just barreled his way on the inside line of Surtees. Tom Bunting was the one that lost out there, but oh my God, that was quite some way back that Jack Trunwick had made that work.
Just about to say that must be the cleanest start I've ever seen at Brands Hatch, and then turn 4 happened. So unfortunately we got that right on camera, but yeah, just a little bit of an aggressive move down the inside, and thankfully nobody spun, although Tom Bunting did lose 4 or 5 spots, which was a shame because it was a good start from Tom. Glyn up in P11 now, looking to pass Jack Ajewski down the inside to get back into the top 10. So they've changed places 3 times already on lap 1. Pauly from Boland half a second in it fight. We've got our first car off, and it's Gladwell in the background who's going to rejoin in the Mercedes, and then he loses the rear. Don't go into that tyre barrier. Well done. He manages to avoid any damage, but he's lost a huge amount of time in a 15-minute race. Meanwhile, Trunwick versus Bury continues. So Bury's been right on the attack from the get-go here in the Mercedes, looking incredibly racy. He's going to look to the inside of Trunwick. Can't get it done on the exit of Clark Curve, and we now head towards Paddock Hill Bend for the second time. Are they going to go 3 wide, Chris?
Oh, Glyn Bury has pushed it too hard into the gravel. I think he kind of knew it. He really shouldn't have committed to that. Oh, and that is Jack Ajewski. That has come a cropper there on the exit of Paddock Hill Bend. Again, just the way the track undulates is really easy to do. You just touch the gravel on the outside line, you lose that traction. I will spit. I've seen numerous cars get spat onto that inside line. So let's see that again. So 3 wide. We're watching Jack Ajewski, who's on the outside line, cuts down to the inside, and then gets into contact. Oh, nearly contact with the Porsche that came through. So yeah, it was helped into that half spin. Was a Jack Ajewski. Tom Bunting has recovered himself back up to 10th position, but we've got a wonderful scrap here. It may well be for the lower end of the midfield, but either way, it's just as frenetic.
Gravel on the racing line already. You'll have drivers avoiding the tarmac just to try and keep the grip levels up. It's horrendous out there already a couple of laps in. But yeah, that was unfortunate. Glyn maybe just a bit too excited under braking into turn 1 to try and get down the inside of Trunwick and misjudged it. Obviously, we talked about how difficult Paddock Hill Bend is, and then Ajewski obviously came together there with Trunwick as well. So a crazy opening few laps, especially for Trunwick, I think, has been involved in just about everything. Tom Bunting making his way back up into 10th already. Ben Weston, though, cracking start, taking advantage of others' mistakes, and he's up 4 places to P9. The lead 2, though, still only half a second in it, and less than that between now Matthew Forrest in 3rd and John Finch in 4th. There you can see the gap on screen. You've got the Aston Martin, the multicoloured Aston, 0.3 of a second ahead of the bright green Aston of John Finch, and the front 2 just escaping away but holding it together. You've actually got Noah's Ark at the moment because you've got Stevens and Cross 5th and 6th. Meanwhile, I think that's hopefully just a timing glitch because Pauly has disappeared. He's not rejoined yet, but let's keep an eye out because Pauly, he's away for quite a while now. This may be our champion-elect suffering his first DNF of the season, Chris, but let's just wait and see before we confirm.
Well, he has been having some connection issues. We saw him blinking in and out during qualifying. That's quite a long one, though, so that could well be a disconnect for Chris Pauly. Oh, from the lead of the race, you never, ever want to see it. But yeah, right behind them, as you say, 2 by 2 by 2. We've got Forrest and Finch that are joined together at the hip, and then it's Stevens and Cross in their duel for what is now 4th position. Then Bradley Crump a little bit on his own, being chased by James King. So now Chris Boland leads the way unchallenged. Unchallenged at the moment, we should say. Oops! And that's Tom Stevens that's gone a little bit too deep at Sterling. So it's given the position to Dan Cross. So the black and red Mercedes says, thank you very much. I'll have that. Now, does he have the pace to chase off after the pair of Astons ahead? We will see. So the replay here, this is what happened to Tom Stevens. He's gone in too hard. Yeah, And you know, as soon as you've committed to a corner, same as any other corner you guess, but yeah, you know, as soon as you've committed that if you're going to go in too hard, you try and push, but yeah, sometimes as soon as you committed, you know you're in for a bumpy ride.
Sterling's is such an underrated corner, isn't it? That back left-hander to carry the speed through there. And to be fair to Tom Stevens in that Porsche, the fact that he went over onto the grass and lost the rear end, he did really well to catch that without too much drama, because that could have been a big shunt. I think plenty of drivers would have ended up in the wall on the left there. But Stevens did a good job, and now he will regroup, and he's back on the back of Dan Cross already for what is now 4th position, of course, with Chris Pauly, who's dropped to last with that retirement. I told you, Chris, you don't need to do a last to first challenge. You've got Boland to fight with, but he's going to have to do that for the second race, unfortunately, with no reverse grid either. So Boland runs away at the front. Meanwhile, we've got Glyn Bury on the back of Bunton, and Bury is really making waves today at Brands Hatch. Great to see the form from our 2 most recent drivers to the championship. You've got Bury on the outside, Bunton down the inside. Bury's going to go all the way around the outside, and there's contact between the two. It looked like Bunton, I think Bury maybe didn't quite leave enough space for Bunton on the inside there, because it did not look like they were on the outside of the circuit. We'll have to see a replay, but I do think Glyn may have just turned in a little bit too much. It's such a tricky corner though, Chris. High speed, 4th gear through Hawthorne. As we see the entrance there, yeah, Tom Bunton does have the car alongside, and I think Bury's just closed the door a little bit too much. Off goes the rear wing, and it's curtains for the man who I was just praising for having his best run in the series so far.
Well, he was. He absolutely was. And yeah, it does look like from that particular camera angle, I would agree with you there, John, that...
The new rear wing?
Yeah, so it's on-the-fly engineering. I like that. It's very much a club racing kind of solution.
Flexi wing, Formula 1.
Assuming he is coming into the pits. He's still going. Okay.
Oh, let's watch this into Paddock Hill, Ben, because that could get... Actually, it's probably safer that we don't watch it, to be honest. As we see Crop versus King instead.
Yeah, James King defending that position on the outside line of Graham Hill Bend against Bradley Crop. So McLaren versus Aston Martin there, with James King in that very distinctive livery of his, winning out on that occasion. So yeah, Chris Bowden is just going to keep doing what he's doing, really. Doesn't need to let off the gas, doesn't need to feel pressured, although sometimes when you let off the gas, that invites errors and mistakes to kick in. But this is really good for Chris Boland, down in 9th in the championship, so he could well climb, if he gets kind of fastest lap and wins, he could climb several positions in the championship. Again, I'm not going to go into, there's so many ifs and buts and maybes when it comes to drop scores, especially on the last round of the season. I am not going there at all. But Tom Stevens still fending off the advances of Dan Cross. Are they closing in on John Finch ahead? That Aston duo has separated a bit. They certainly are. So Tom Stevens half a second quicker than John Finch on the last lap around.
Yeah, so Stevens did get past Cross in that last lap as well, Chris.
Yes, so a good lap then from Tom Stevens. And so he's definitely closing. Oh, what's happened to Glyn Bury? The flexible wing's not helping him. Into Sterling's. You kind of want downforce there. And the tail's gone. How are you having a laugh, sir? And round he goes.
How silly does the Mercedes look without a rear wing, by the way? It looks like it looks almost like a Porsche Panamera or something, GT4 car.
I suspect that may well prompt Glyn to come into the pits, although does look like he's still going. But look at this, though. Tom Stevens defending. Glyn Bury is still going. I admire your dedication to the cause. But yeah, Tom Stevens really feeling the pressure now. Dan Cross is not letting go of the potential for 4th here. So, no, Jakajewski's out. So Jakajewski's in trouble. Tonight has really not gone his way at all.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we said he needed a bit of a cleaner run. He's got the pace, but maybe not the consistency, and we saw him facing the wrong way again on lap 2, although it was, of course, with contact with Trunwitt on this particular occasion. So, be interesting to see what happened to him on this occasion. Did he lose the rear end? So this is coming out of Druids now, down towards Graham Hill, and let's see if he loses the rear on exit. And no, he's lost the rear mid-corner, but as he retired just to get out of the way... Oh, no, he's rejoined absolutely fine, so... Not sure. Oh no, he's okay. Yeah, he's looped it on the rejoin on the grass, and then I think he's escaped just to make sure he's not in the way of oncoming traffic with Gladwell. So real shame there for Ajewski, but he will live to fight again in the finale, of course, race 2 in a little minute's time. But yes, it's a tricky track, Chris. When you start making mistakes like that, the tyres get overheated, and then it's very difficult. I think Bury will be doing well to keep the car on the track at the moment without his rear wing. And just one thing I would say while I'm on that, as a driver, if the suspension isn't damaged and the steering's not bent, which is often the case when you just knock off a rear wing, you might not actually realise that you're missing a rear wing. So to be fair to Glenbury, he might not be seeing that flapping boot lid in his rear view mirror. He might just think he's got, general aero damage and maybe doesn't realise that the wing's gone. So good to see him fighting on, but I think it's going to be tricky for him to keep that car on track.
Chris Pauly had his Wi-Fi disconnect on him, so he's just messaged me to tell me that. So thank you for the update, Chris. We hope to see a last to first challenge then in race 2. But look at Tom Stevens just having to defend so hard. You can't pass absolutely everywhere at Brands Hatch, although no one seems to have told Dan Cross that. Had a look on the inside line coming up towards Sterling's, as there's not a huge amount of big, heavy braking zones in Brands Hatch, so it's all about rhythm and momentum. And at the moment, Dan Stevens and Tom Cross, why not? Tom Stevens doing everything he needs to do to keep the Mercedes behind. What's happened to Ben Weston? That's up at Sheen's. Float with the grass. No, that's the wall. Ow. Oh, yes, that's right in front of Tom Bunton. And does he park it? It looks like he was trying to drive it into the Marshall's gap there, which I doubt you can do in iRacing. Oh, look at how difficult that thing is to turn. Yeah, that's going to be a fair amount of repair time in the pits, I suspect.
Yeah, he's got a flexi front wing on that one. But yeah, I mean, that was unfortunate. I think he did really well to rejoin safely, but gutting for Weston, who's actually making a move on the inside of Wardle to take back P10. And I was going to say, I mean, Weston's having a fine race here today, because we did see him up into 9th place early on, and then obviously that's been a big setback. But I mean, he's up into 10th now, so obviously we've got a slightly lower number of drivers participating tonight, and that just helps the drivers that keep on going. If you can persevere, get through any mistakes, keep it on the black stuff, there's still a chance of a reverse grid pole position. So good to see some perseverance going on there. Meanwhile, Cross still on the back of Stevens, but both of these guys closing in continuously on that Aston Martin of John Finch in P3. I thought the battle for this race was going to be for P3. Obviously, with the disconnect for Pauly, it means it's P2, but actually it's still for P3 as Stevens once again gets it all wrong out of that last corner, and then that gives Crop an advantage around the outside. They're going to turn in side by side. Crop's leaving all the room. Very respectful stuff from Cross there, not Crop, of course. And he goes past Stevens. They're going to continue though side by side. A bit of door banging now as we head towards Paddock Hill Bend. Stevens has to give up the position though. Through goes Dan Cross, and Stevens is going to have to do the move all over again.
Oh, brilliant racing with the pair of them. That's not a great exit though from Paddock Hill Bend for Dan Cross, but no way around the outside of Druids for Tom Stevens. So now he's tried to switch back, hasn't he? But no, that's now Dan Cross that's parking his big old Mercedes everywhere he can to prevent any kind of momentum from Tom Stevens. John Finch probably quite happy about the fact that these two are battling that hard, because I would have thought he would have known that those two cars were getting very, very big in his mirror. But Tom Stevens, Dan Cross giving us a fabulous battle for 4th position. Was looking like it was going to be a three-way fight for 3rd, but John Finch given a bit of breathing space as mentioned. So again, Tom Stevens just showing his nose, now doing everything to Dan Cross that Dan Cross has been doing to him for the last few laps. But the Mercedes is just a little bit bigger than the Porsche, and does that make it easy to defend? Well, not from someone like Tom Stevens, as Tom, as we have seen time and again, is very, very quick, no matter where he is or what he's in. Dan Cross will be feeling that pressure now. Can he hold it for another few laps?
Tom Stevens just made the track about a kilometre shorter through Sheen's on the inside. But yeah, I mean, really unfortunate for Stevens there. I mean, it shows you as well how close it is. I mean, they spent the last 5 or 6 laps recovering from Stevens' mistakes. We get the white flag to signal the final lap. Spent that time recovering, closing in on Finch, Cross following, and then one mistake again in the same place for Stevens. It wasn't even that bad a mistake. It was just a little bit of a wide run through Sterling's, and all of a sudden, all that work's undone. Finch has all the breathing room he needs once again, and he's now looking strong for that podium. Can Cross hold on from Stevens, though? Because Stevens clearly has a couple of tenths on these guys.
That is the question, isn't it? As Tom Stevens closes right back under the rear wing of the Mercedes, runs a tiny bit wide on the exit of Graham Hill Bend. And look at this on the nose camera of the Porsche this time. They've closed back in on John Finch as well. I think John is just about going to be saved by the fact that we are on the final lap. So we will see if they're able to close in. I suspect Dan Cross is just concentrating on his mirrors at this point. Into Hawthorne Bend. The Mercedes just gets a couple of car lengths on Tom Stevens on that occasion. Now through Westfield. Use all of the available pixels of that is there for you. I think Dan Cross, as long as he doesn't repeat the same mistake that Tom Stevens did, should be okay with that one. But it has been a flawless victory for this man, the number one BMW. Your winner for race number 1 here at Brands Hatch, the final of the season, is going to be the BMW of Chris Boland. A very worthy win, and he looks very happy about that, and rightly so. But look at this. Matt Forrest has become second, but almost side by side over the line. John Finch just about holds off Dan Cross and Tom Stevens. I tell you what, if it was another lap, John Finch would have had it all to do.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. It was getting very, very close at the end, and it just shows you that mistake from Stevens crucial. It's 5th instead of potentially what could have been a 3rd in another world. The clouds were certainly getting dark there as well, so I don't know if the rain was potentially closing in on the Kent circuit, but Ben Weston with his broken Porsche, with all the damage on the front end, doesn't matter because everything in a Porsche is at the back anyway, so don't worry about that, Ben. Coming through the last corner, he's going to pick up a strong P10 after an eventful race. Obviously, Trunwitt and Bunton 9th and 8th respectively as well. Good recovery from Bunton, who got in the wars in that race, has to be said. A couple of incidents that he seemed to get mired in, but did really well to keep it on the straight and narrow and pick up P8. Then you've got Glyn Bury still going with his flexi rear wing through the last corner. And is he now going to pull into the pits? Oh, okay. He's gone. Well, less said about that, the better. But Glyn is going to finish the race in pit lane, which is where he probably should have been 5 laps ago. But we'll let him away with that one. Well, that's a good perseverance from Glyn.
For those unaware, you're not supposed to straight line the pit lane entry. You are actually supposed to follow the wiggly bit. But
I think you're meant to finish the race first as well.
Well, ideally, yes. But as he was the last car running, I don't think it's going to make an awful lot of difference. But yeah, Glyn Bury, give him his due. He would have loved it if it was 12th and he got reverse grid pole as a result. But speaking of, we will head over to the wheel very, very shortly. But let's run through the race results. Before this is before Stewart's intervention, of course. So it is Chris Boland from Matt Forrest, your top 2. John Finch in 3rd. Dan Cross has 4th with Tom Stevens in 5th. So close between those 3 in the end. James King in 6th. Bradley Cropp in 7th. Tom Bunton in 8th. Car number 888 in 8th. Nicely done. Jack Trundra in 9. Ben Weston in 10th. Mark Gladwell, we saw having that big spin, in 11th. Steve Wardle has 12th. And Glyn Bury, with his redesigned Mercedes in 13th. We lost in the course of the race Jackie Jewski and Chris Pawley. Right, production, let's have the wheel then. So let's see how many of our top 12 are going to be reversed for race number 2. Let's spin the wheel. So anywhere from 6th to 12th are going to be reversed for this race.
Wheel, give us a 12. Give us a 12.
Give us a... it doesn't look like we're going to get a 12. Might we get an 8? That's going to be 8, isn't it? So the top 8, so that puts Tom Bunton. Well, joined us last time out. Our Grid Finder representative has the pole spot from Bradley Cropp. And James King and Tom Stevens have row 2. Dan Cross, John Finch, row 3. And Matt Forrest and Chris Boland on row 4. And then it is 9th downwards as they finish. So Jack Trundra and Ben Weston, row 5. Mark Gladwell, Steve Warden, row 6. Glyn Bury and Jack Ajewski, row 7, with Chris Pawley starting at the back of the field. John joked about the last to first finish, and he's essentially going to give that a try anyway. So we have got some people wanting to have a chat to us. Who should we chat to first? Well, we should chat to. Let's do it reverse grid order, reverse finishing order. Let's grab across a green Aston Martin of John Finch. John, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hello, John. Good to have a chat with you. I bet you're glad there wasn't another lap on that race.
Oh, I absolutely am. That was tight. That white flag lap, I was making a couple of mistakes that I didn't really want to make, but I could see Dan closing me up, and annoyingly, I could also see Matt slowing down a little bit. So I wanted to push, but not too hard. It was a pretty tough race all through.
So is it one of these things of, there's pressure behind you and that's just kind of distracting you a little bit? Kind of talk us through what was running through your mind, particularly in the closing parts of that race.
I mean, quite frankly, last week was very much running through my mind, where it was pretty much the same order for the majority of the race: Matt in front, then me, and then Dan. And I was just thinking, if Dan keeps getting those laps on me and closing that gap, eventually we're going to be in that same situation again. I'm either going to have to defend and lose time, or make an aggressive move and lose time. And quite frankly, it was my first podium, so I just didn't want to lose it.
I was just thinking that. I think it was the first time we've had a chat to you all season long. So it's always a pleasure to catch up with you, John. So for those unaware, for those that maybe catching up with us for the first time, can you explain to us what your 9 to 5 is?
My 9 to 5 is I am a linguist in the Royal Air Force. So I spend my time just looking at languages mostly.
Okay. Still an important job to have on board, nonetheless. John, any questions from you?
I mean, first of all, congratulations.
No questions from me.
Oh, sorry, 2 Johns. I was just going to ask you, John. You've had a great season this season. I'd say you're absolutely up there amongst what I would maybe class as best of the rest. Like top of the second tier with the drivers obviously who are fighting for wins week in, week out. And I think it's been an improvement on the previous season, if I'm not wrong. So just talk us through your season from your perspective.
So previously, I've always felt my biggest issue in not getting as high up has just been silly little mistakes where I've had an off track that's really slowed me down, or I've even just span out and maybe lost like 5, 6 or more positions. And so this season has very much been a case of like just try not to screw up as much as I can, and then hopefully the lap times will just speak for themselves, and I'll get in kind of a representative position, which I think I've achieved most of the time this year.
Awesome stuff. So it's the top 8 that have been reversed for this race, which puts you in, well, it doesn't change your position an awful lot. It starts you in 6th position. How are you feeling heading into the reverse grid race for tonight? Overtaking not a huge amount of opportunities for it, but how brave are you feeling coming into the grand final of the season?
If I'm honest, not hugely brave. I think for me, it's just going to be a case of just try and stay on track and see what opportunities present themselves. In the opening laps, there's often a couple of opportunities that might present themselves. So if I can grab them, I'll take them.
Fair enough. And we look forward to seeing out the season, and hopefully we get a chance to chat to you again as the night closes. Thank you very much, John Finch.
Thank you.
Let's have a chat then with our 2nd place finisher. It is going to be Matt Forrest. Matt, are you with us?
I am indeed. Good evening.
Good evening to you. Well, comparatively speaking, it was a bit lonely for you after a while. Talk us through that race from your side.
Oh, it was nice not having Pete around. So being he's nice. But yeah, once I got the second gap on John, I was just quite happy. Not challenging. I didn't realise I was in P2 for a while. So I had no idea what happened to Chris. So yeah, it was nice and it was fun. I was quick in practice during the week, so I knew I had a good chance of being up near the top. But this is a bit of a nosebleed territory for me.
Yeah, we haven't had an awful a lot, very many opportunities to have a chat to you. So for those who may be unaware, can you tell us what your 9 to 5 is?
Yes, I'm the head of IT for GE Aerospace UK.
Oh, that's got to be a busy job.
It's very busy, yes.
That's awesome stuff. So it's the top 8 that are reversed for second race. That puts you in 7th. How are you feeling about that?
Okay, I think. We'll see. It'll be fun overtaking people, I think. I think I've got pace to do so. It's just lining it up in the right places.
Fair point, well made. Any questions, John?
Good to speak to you for the first time this season, Matt. And I have to say, one of my favourite liveries out there on circuit. And you've had good pace all season, but this is the first time you've made it to the podium. So talk us through that journey, because it's been a really strong start.
Yeah, well, I was saying to Chris, I've actually changed my footwear today. I'm wearing trainers rather than my racing boots. Having less feel in the pedal as maybe about 3/10 quicker for some reason. I don't know why. I should be slower, but I'm quicker.
100% podium rate with the trainers. That's good.
Yeah,
keep up.
yeah, exactly. So it's a shame it's the last 2 races of the season.
We all every day is a score day, as they say. Well, best of luck for race 2, and hopefully we'll get a chance to chat to you again on the second interviews of the night. Thank you very much, Matt Forrest.
Thank you.
And let's drag over our champion-elect, Chris Boland. Are you with us?
Yeah, good evening, gents.
Well, you had it all to do in the first half of the race, and then you ran off into the sunset.
I'll be honest, that was shaping up to be the race of the season. That was me and Chris were within millimeters of each other pace-wise. That was shaping up to be epic. So I'm really disappointed that he got the disconnect in that one. And it wasn't even like you could see it coming within blinking or anything. It was just a straight, nah, we're going to kick you out. And yeah, from that point, that was sort of the race ruined for me. But yeah, still had to concentrate, still had to bring it home. So.
Well, you start 8th in the race number 2 in the reverse grid race. How are you feeling ahead of that?
Yeah, it's I believe the weather's changed again, so yeah, that's always going to add another little element to it. So keep it clean, try and work up, trying to pick up positions when I can. Don't do anything stupid, and hopefully aim for a podium, I think.
Awesome stuff. Any questions, John?
I mean, just we've obviously spoken to you a few times this season, Chris, about it's not been as good a season as last year for you, but you've not been doing all the events. You've picked the BMW, which is maybe not the best car, and hopefully you've had fun in the process. But maybe just a word on the competition and Chris Pauly's performance as champion, because he's done an amazing job to close in on Ryan and seal this one early.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, this season's probably been overall. I mean, to be fair, me and Adam, it was very close last season, but I think both myself and Adam have moved on another step. But like you say, Ryan's come back into the fold and he's sort of picked up from where he left off pace-wise. Chris has been knocking around on iRacing for a while, but this is his first full season and he's been getting better and better as every round's gone on. And I think, to be honest, this is probably the best overall season we've had for some of the rookies that we've had join us. The pace has been fantastic, and not always the same guys as well. So it's been a bit more of a mixed bag, I think, this season, which has been really good.
No argument there. We have thoroughly enjoyed the racing from up top. So we look forward to having a chat to you again. Best of luck for the final race of the season. Thank you very much. Chris Boland.
Thank you very much, gents. Top job all you.
Thank you kindly, sir. And yes, indeed, echoing John's thoughts. Good luck for race number 2. Right, we're just waiting for the session to get set up and the reverse grid to be built. But
I think we've got some problems, Chris. Sorry, just to butt in there. I think we've had a few issues with some drivers managing to join this server. I don't know if it's maybe something to do with an iRacing update, but we'll obviously keep you posted as we hear. So there may be a slight delay to this next one, but we'll just have to wait and see.
I see. Well spotted. So we will see then if that is going to hold us up to a huge degree. But yes, we are literally a bit stuck at the moment for what to bring you. But Brands Hatch with inclement conditions. Now, as I mentioned earlier, one of the few sim racing successes I had was in the wet in the BMW. In your time at Brands Hatch, have you faced, albeit on the Indy circuit, but that's still a fabulous circuit nonetheless. Have you had to deal with the wet?
I certainly have. It's actually, I put Brands Hatch down as the circuit and the specific event that I learned to drive in the wet. I learned to drive well in the wet. I was racing in the Mazda MX-5 Championship 2016, and we turned up to Brands Hatch. I was right in the championship fight, kind of a two-horse race for the championship, and I had done some wet races the season before and been terrible because I was 16 years old and had no idea what I was doing. But at Brands Hatch, it was soaking wet in qualifying. And the reigning champion actually had come in for a one-off appearance at Brands that weekend, and he was my teammate for the race. In qualifying, I was really struggling. I just had no grip out there. Obviously, it's all everyone's on the same tires, things like that, and it was incredibly slippy. I had no grip at all. And then I saw my teammate in the mirror, and before I knew it, he was flying past me, and I realised that he was sticking at Paddock Hill Bend, which you can see right now in the GVs there. He was sticking right to the outside line along that white line, and somehow the car had, I would say 50% more grip than everyone else who was scrabbling about on the inside. And it was that very moment where I realised just how much you need to experiment with lines in the wet. It showed you how much the different grip levels affected things, and I then started basically pinning it to the white line around Paddock Hill Bend and managed to steal pole position from him on the last lap just by copying what he was doing. And from that moment on, I've always been quite a good driver in the wet relative to others. So that's my story of wet weather at Brands Hatch. It was the place that that taught me how to drive in the wet, just because of the grip variety. And iRacing is one of the best sims out there for simulating that grip variation. I did a little challenge actually on a YouTube video when the rain first launched on iRacing. I drove around this circuit in a Toyota GT86 using a dry line in the wet weather, and then did the same thing using a kind of wet line, so following the outside of the circuits, trying to exploit as much grip as possible. And I went around the circuit about half a second to a second quicker by sticking to the outside on iRacing. So it's one of the most realistic implementations of the wet weather. Could we see a wet second race potentially? It sounds like we might.
I certainly hope so, because we do enjoy a bit of the wet stuff, don't we? The drivers not necessarily so, but I certainly do. Yeah, from a driver's perspective, I always I did and I didn't like that. It would very much depend on where we're racing as to whether I enjoyed the wet weather or not. Like Browns, for instance, I seem to do okay in the wet. Snetterton, a little bit less so, but I tell you what, the one place I struggled the most in the wet was Donington Park. Donington was always a bit of a bogey track for me, but yeah, in the wet, I just could never get the flow quite right. And I've seen real life footage of Donington when it's been horrendously wet, and the old hairpin particularly just becomes a lake.
Oh, Donington is one of the worst in the wet for a couple of reasons. One, the aeroplanes fly over the top from the Midlands Airport and drop I think we talked about this potentially last week, but drop aviation fuel and oil down onto the circuit. And obviously when you mix oil and fuel with water, you get ice, basically. That's just physics. And it's incredibly slippery. I've raced around Donington in December as well, and it was, the lap times were just about double the amount of time it took to get around to the dry. I've also driven around Donington when there's been a snowstorm, and the event's actually been called off because of the conditions, and I was out on circuit when the snowstorm hit, and that made for some interesting footage. Although I did actually go quicker in the snow than I did in the dry, which I think was down to my Scottishness according to my team at the time. But yeah, no, one of these, every circuit's different in the wet. I think the grip level changes are different, the surface types are different. Obviously when a track's resurfaced, that also creates a different environment as well. So I think for simulations, it's very, very hard to actually get wet weather right, because in real life, the variable of wet weather it's almost like tires. It's a dark art. It's impossible to truly understand and be able to simulate realistically, because honestly, you turn up from one track to the next and wet weather changes it in a completely different manner. So that's something that's very, very difficult for simulations to actually get right. The one place I've probably had the most experience in the wet is Anglesey, because I take part in the Race of Remembrance most years, which a lot of drivers actually competing in this very series do take part in the Race of Remembrance at Anglesey. Obviously, there's a lot of ties there.
I really want to be involved in Race of Remembrance one year. Anglesey is a wonderful, wonderful place, northwest Wales. I've been there several times. It's a long old haul from where I am in Wiltshire. But Anglesey is such a wonderful place. It's a track that again, you're talking about things being overlooked. Anglesey's so great. I love working at Anglesey.
It's incredible, and it's actually, weirdly enough, as a Scotsman, it doesn't have many tracks, but it's one of the local ones. It's actually one of the closer ones at about 11 hours. It's phenomenal. And the thing is, the Race of Remembrance obviously takes place on Remembrance Weekend in November, which means that you're on the coast of Wales, right on the cliffs, in November. So if you ever want wet weather practice, Chris, send an entry in to Race of Remembrance, because I have done many, many multiples of 10 hours of wet weather driving around Anglesey, and it's a whole load of fun.
And they do wet weather really well in Anglesey. I have commentated up there in wet weather, and oh my god, they don't mess about. There's literally, exactly as you said, Joe, you are on the coast. You miss your breaking point and you're in the sea. You are that close to water, and therefore there is nothing to mitigate any kind of wind or bad weather at all. It's not like any other track is obviously a fair amount of inland, so you've got buildings and hills around you to mitigate the bad weather. No, if you can't see the Snowdonia mountain range, then the weather is getting pretty bad. And I had it before, actually my last visit to Anglesey, where the weather had come in that quickly and that bad you couldn't actually see the coastline. Now, bearing in mind that may not mean anything to those that haven't been to Anglesey, but the coastline, it's literally the other side of the fence to the track. So you're talking from the commentary box, you're talking, what would you say, 50, 60 meters?
Yeah, it's not far.
It's not far at all. And I could not see it. The cloud cover and the rain had come in that bad. And we still raced on. I mean, we were racing like Jaguar XJSs and they were hilarious. So, 1.5 tons of rear wheel drive big cats. They were brilliant.
Oh, I can imagine. Lots of fun. The other weird thing about Anglesey as well is the wind has such a big impact because you're right on the coast, and obviously the circuit is up high on the cliff tops, and especially racing in November. There's plenty of wind about. In fact, we've had the Race of Remembrance cut short before because the TV tower actually fell over in the wind, and we also had to the marquee. The marquee also at one point needed rescuing because it was going places. So yeah, it gets exciting there when it gets windy, and also there's a certain part of the track actually where there's a gap in the Armco barriers for a marshal's post, and the wind actually collects in that one particular area, comes through the gap in the fence, and it means that you get an incredible gust, a side wind coming in at one very specific point on the exit of a corner. So just when you think you've got around the hardest corner on circuit, you suddenly get blown a massive gale from one side, pulling you across the track. It's an incredible thing to actually experience. Thinking. Oh, sorry, Chris.
Where's that then? I'm trying to think what that is.
So the flat out right hander of Church, just on the exit of Church. There's a bit of a gap, and the wind comes through and swirls. So yeah, it's a bit of a strange experience. Sorry, just while I'm talking absolute nonsense about the wind, I've noticed we've got a couple of drivers we could speak to in the interview waiting room. We've got Dan Cross, who was fighting for P3 in that race, and also organizer extraordinaire and McLaren top runner James King. So perhaps we can have a word with those two.
Yes, I think we'll get Dan Cross, the black and red Merc runner. Let's drag him over. Dan Cross, are you with us?
I am, yes. Good evening.
Good evening to you, sir. Well, unfortunately, technical troubles are preventing us from moving on to race 2, but wow, you had a fantastic scrap in the first race of tonight. Talk us through it from your side.
It was probably one of the most stressful races I've had so far. It was absolutely incredible, exciting, and exactly what I come to these races for. Absolutely fantastic. It was a struggle. Tom has got some incredible pace and defends very, very well in a very frustrating manner when he wants to, and it makes it very difficult to compete.
Talk us through your season overall then. I think it's pretty sure it's the first time that we've had a chance to have a chat to you, Dan. So talk us through how the season's gone from your perspective.
It has been a few ups and downs. I think I've maybe been pushing myself a little bit too hard in the early part of the season to try and try to make myself perform. I think it's taken about half the season for me to calm down and realise that maybe I have got a little bit of pace and I don't need to push myself too much. And it's just a shame it's taken me this long to really settle down and find a rhythm, really, because I think if I'd found that mindset earlier, I might be in a bit of a better spot than I am right now.
Lessons to be learned for next season, which we hope, will we see you for next season then?
I should certainly think so, yes.
Excellent stuff. And if you're able to, can you give us an indication of what your 9 to 5 is?
Yes, I am a Phase 2 training instructor in one of I'm a Phase 2 training instructor. I help train new soldiers to do the specific trade that is we do.
Of course, we do fully understand you can't tell us absolutely everything, but we thank you for your service nonetheless. John, any questions?
I mean, first of all, Dan, congratulations. It was an amazing first race, and we've seen you right in the thick of the battle. I would say, I think it's fair to say maybe upper midfield this season, or just off the edges of the top 5. But, as you say, you've improved thoroughly. You've found good pace, and this weekend you're right in the mix. It was great to hear how much you enjoyed that first race. Just talk us through what it is about this series that keeps you coming back and keeps you enjoying it, because, it's been amazing for us to watch once again.
It's purely to do with the knowledge that all of these people that are coming to this league all want the same thing. We all want to be able to race clean, respectfully, and not be immature about it, shall we say. It's the maturity, I think, that keeps bringing me back, and knowing that if I'm going to be given space if I think I'm, in most cases, when I think I've earned it. Obviously, Standfast, John Finch a couple of weeks ago in Navarra, that was absolutely my fault. But just the community and the racing, the quality of the racing, and the variety of the pace, and the fact that the skill level at every level on the grid is there, and everyone can compete whatever their skill level here.
That's amazing to hear, and that's very much what we've observed as well. The general quality throughout the field has been absolutely exemplary, and yeah, it's great to hear that from a driver's perspective. Well, it's a bit of a shame we won't. It does look like we're not going to be able to get our second race of the night underway, but Dan, it has been a wonderful pleasure to commentate on you throughout the season, and we look forward to seeing you again in seasons to come. Thank you very much, Dan Carros.
You're welcome. Take care.
Right, let's grab our champion-elect in, shall we?
Oh, sounds good. Chris Pauly is hopefully going to join us. Chris, is your Wi-Fi working? That's the first question.
It is. Good evening, gents. How's it going?
It's been a good one, hasn't it, Chris?
Yeah, absolutely. So we were so looking forward to you and other Chris dueling at the front, and then you decided to set up a last of first that we're not going to get now.
I know it's an absolutely gutting way, really, to end the season. That was shaping up to be a very good race, and yeah, I guess it's like racing. It's like a mechanical failure or something, really. So yeah, a bit disappointing, but fortunately, the championship's been sealed up already, so that's good.
Yeah, very much so. So you will be crowned. It was decided before we'd even turned the wheel tonight that you are going to be the number one for next season. Will you be returning to us for next season?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it'd be great to come back. Hopefully it's GT4s again. Seems to have gelled well with them, but yeah, we'll see what happens with that.
That's amazing stuff. It's been such a great privilege to watch your progress through the season, and yeah, just race on race on race. It's just been improvement on determination, on consistency, and it's paid off. So excellent stuff. Well done.
Yeah, thanks very much. Yeah, to kind of echo what Chris said, really, I think it's been probably one of the strongest seasons I remember of AFRC. So, throughout the grid, there's been great pace. And to be honest, I think this is the first race where we've had less than 19 people in. So credit to all the drivers who've done it. Credit to Kingy and Chris for organising it. And obviously, huge thanks to you guys as well for putting on the show.
It's been an amazing pleasure. You guys have done the show. We just shout about it. In all fairness, if it wasn't for you guys, we'd have far less to actually add to it. Any questions from you, John?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, congratulations to your Wi-Fi for choosing the right round to disconnect, because it would have made it a bit stressful, I think, if that had been during another round. And obviously, we don't know what's going to happen now with points if this race indeed doesn't go ahead. But you've already sealed it up, so I mean, as you know, congratulations on the championship. But what I haven't really spoken to you about this season, I'm seeing in your profile photo here, you've got which the viewers can't see. You've got what looks like is it a Caterham or a low cost or a Westfield? Is that something that you race in real life?
Yeah, so that was actually the first race I ever did. That was a low cost back in 2016. I took a bit of a break then, so I only did a couple of races. Very quickly ran out of money. I owned a kart for a few years, did some testing, but actually, following the conclusion of this virtual season now, I'm hoping to do a full season in the Armed Forces Challenge for real. So as of Monday, that'll be the first round. So yeah, looking to commit to the full season this year in the real world.
Oh, that's properly exciting. Can you tell us a little bit about that effort and the car you're going to be competing in?
Yeah, so 2 years ago I picked up it's a Renault Clio 182 from 2003. Picked up a few years ago as just a track day car, really, and then obviously after a few track days, the bug bit again. I decided to go racing with it. Had some success actually at the first few races in that. It's a quick car for the class, but again with work commitments in the Air Force, as you can imagine, it was tricky to commit to a full season. So now I've got the time, albeit I'm based up here in Anglesey. Which I heard you guys talking about earlier. But yeah, I've got the time. Perhaps not there. It's quite far to every round. But yeah, it'll be good to do a full season this year, and hopefully, try and get some success following this.
Oh, we just want to wish you good luck with that as well, Chris. Best luck for the season. And I mean, obviously, you know how to drive, and I'm sure that translates to the real car as well. So yeah, very exciting to see how you get on with a full season, and I hope you have a really enjoyable time with it.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, I'd echo that from John. Best of luck with the coming season, and congratulations on this championship. Thank you very much, Chris Pauly.
Thank you, gents.
One last interview that we are going to conduct is from the aforementioned James King, organizer of this championship once again. James, are you with us?
Hi guys, yeah, I'm here.
Hi, James. Well, a bit of a shame, but a very anticlimactic end to what has been a fantastic season. You've no doubt had your hands full, not just in learning the McLaren, which was an interesting choice, switching from your beloved BMW from last season, but keeping the championship up and running. Talk us through the whole behind the scenes schedule from your perspective.
Well, so it started quite a bit before the actual season. I think it was just before Christmas actually that we came together. We drafted the calendar, decided the regulations. Features like are we going to include the weather? Are we going to have the endurance rounds that we've had as well? That was a sort of a small group of us. I think it was myself, Chris Boland, Pete Plasto, and Tom Stevens. Basically one from each service, plus myself as the lead organizer. Then it was are we going to go for the broadcast again? Which of course we're very very glad that we went for that. And then it was all about getting the actual organisation side, so getting the sessions sort of prepared, get driver applications in, sort out the payments for the funding, and then eventually we found ourselves here.
I mean, from our perspective, it has been an absolutely superb season. You guys are giving me and John a lot to shout about. But from your particular perspective, what prompted the choice of the McLaren?
Mostly, I just wanted something different. So last year I went for the BMW because I quite liked the way it drove. Then we had obviously the G82 BMW re-release in the meantime, and I didn't really gel with it. So then I thought, do you know what? No one else seems to be picking the McLaren, so I'll pick that. And then 3 or 4 other people did anyway. But it's turned out to be actually quite a fun car, apart from it having a bit of an understeer problem sometimes. But again, it's just something to learn. And yeah, it's been really good just to try something new.
I can't fault you for that whatsoever. And as we haven't had a chance to chat to you through the season, are you able to give us what your 9 to 5 is?
Yeah. So, funny enough, I don't actually work 9 to 5 UK hours. So I'm based out in Cyprus. So I'm 2 hours ahead of everyone. And at the minute, it's not too warm, which is good for this season. But it'll probably go, 30 plus degrees for the next 4 or 5 months, I would say. So it's going to get a bit warm.
Fair enough. Ironically, the background technical issues have now actually been fixed, but I don't know if the drivers have kind of gone to ground or anything like that. But I mean, either way, it's been an absolutely superb season, James. It has been so much fun to again be a part of, and we thank you and all of the staff behind the scenes for keeping it together and steering the ship in the right direction.
Yeah, thanks, guys, and of course, massive thanks to all of you at AK for the broadcasting. It's been great to go back and watch every race that we've had, even the rounds where I wasn't here for. And yeah, it's just been a brilliant job all around, I think. So thank you guys very much.
It has been a great pleasure indeed. Any questions, John?
No, I'll let you get away, James, because I know there's obviously the stress of organising it when things are going wrong as well. So we'll let you get away and concentrate. But just from myself, a massive thanks to you for all of your work behind the scenes to get this up and running, and for putting on a great show for us to then watch. So it's been great, and well done for the season. We look forward to the next AFVRC Championship as well, which I believe I may have an invite to take part in a round. So I might be considering, dusting off the old gloves and taking some of these drivers on.
Do it.
We'll see you there.
Do it. That'll be absolutely amazing. Great stuff. And again, thank you very much for all of your efforts to get this, or to steer the ship in the right direction. And we very much look forward to future seasons. Thank you very much, James King. And that is going to bring an end to tonight's festivities, as pretty much all the drivers have disappeared now, which is absolutely fine. Unfortunate technical problems have grounded us for the grand finale of the season. But what a season it's been, John. It's just been fabulous from beginning to end.
It certainly has, and I just want to say, for the last time this season as well, a massive thank you to everyone behind the scenes. Obviously, James, we just spoke to in terms of the organising. Obviously, we've got Tom behind the scenes on the broadcast. He's been here for most of the season, and we did have as well Mike and Steve in earlier in the championship. So massive thank you to all of those guys who you will not see in the broadcast, but they're the ones hitting the buttons and telling us what to do, and telling us what the corner names and numbers are, and telling us when we get the names wrong. And I could keep going for many minutes. So big thanks to Tom and also Mike and Steve as well for all of that, and a big thanks to yourself as well, Chris, for keeping me company and obviously leading the way with the commentary. It's been an absolute pleasure and a privilege, and I can't wait for whatever comes next in this championship. What a great effort from the drivers to put on such a good show for us. And one final thank you, of course, to those of you watching the broadcast. We hope you've enjoyed it. Thanks for your support. Thanks for all the comments that have been coming in throughout the season, and hopefully we'll see you again soon as well.
Absolutely so. And until we meet again for the next season, we hope you'll take care. There's always sim racing to be found. Especially head over to Grid Finder, and Tom Bunton will enjoy that particular plug. But until we meet again, thank you very much, and good night.